But Nancy Pelosi this week this is I want to have this is a fairly nuanced topic, it seems to me, and more so than has been made of it. Nancy Pelosi, in the context of an interview, very it seems to me consciously and deliberately, basically said impeachment's off the table, more or less. And then later, when asked to respond to that, she said, I didn't impeach George Bush and they wanted me to for the Iraq war, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to impeach Donald Trump. The biggest issue I had with Pelosi's response was not even, and this is before we addressed the practicality of impeachment and the political expediency and the value of it, or whether, impeachment is an important sort of device. But she poo-poos the idea of impeachment just broadly by saying it's divisive and whatnot. Like, basically doesn't just take it off the table in this instance, but takes it off the table, period. And to me, that is highly problematic in terms of the issue that we have in this country about accountability for the elite.
Well, yeah. And I wish someone would ask her, would you have voted to impeach Richard Nixon? I really wish someone would ask her that, because it is exactly what you say. It appears that she does not believe in impeachment. I mean, right. I'm just saying across the board that there is no case in which you would impeach a president. And this, to me, honestly, and I know this sounds hyperbolic, but if you can't see your way clear to at least hold the door open to impeachment for Donald Trump, who is blatantly abusing the powers of his office. We're seeing it every single day. He's completely incompetent as a leader,
he was named. He was at least identified as a co-conspirator with another co-conspirator of someone who's going to jail for that crime.
Exactly. And as we said earlier, he's got 4 of his top aides, associates, and intimates standing before federal judges in 1 week. There are people investigating him all over the country. He's clearly violating the emoluments clause. He's running his business out of the White House. He's paying off porn stars with checks, or paying off people who paid off porn stars with checks while he's president. I mean, we have documented proof of this. I mean, I don't know whether or not an impeachment would succeed in the House or in the Senate. But I mean, you don't go into it knowing for sure that there's just no way you can do that. But you investigate. Now, I suspect, and I don't know what her reasoning behind this is. And the problem with it is, I get that people are afraid, we're going to start impeaching every president. Well, that actually hasn't happened. We did have an impeachment of Bill Clinton, which was completely ridiculous. It was based upon a lie told in a civil deposition. It was ridiculous. This is not. And neither was the Richard Nixon impeachment hearings. I would argue that Iran-Contra would have been worthy of impeachment hearings. They do exist, and the reason is because we have a bunch of criminals that keep getting elected by the Republican Party and put in office. And theoretically, the same could be true of Democrats as well. When that happens, there has to be something you can do, and impeachment is what the Constitution, sets forth as the way to deal with this, especially when you have a Department of Justice which has determined that a president can't be indicted for a crime. There's nothing else, literally. So it's absurd to me that she's doing it, and I'm not sure I understand her reasoning. Yeah, impeachment's divisive. Of course it is. So what?
Now, see, there's the thing.
Are divisive.
I actually believe that there's an argument that from a political standpoint, you don't want to impeach him. I think the strongest argument against impeaching the president is the full knowledge that there's no way the Senate will convict when it's controlled by this many Republicans. There's just simply no way. And you only get one bite at this apple. And God forbid that Donald Trump gets reelected in 2020. You're going to want impeachment to still be an arrow in your quiver, because otherwise, Donald Trump, if you've already expended it, you've already impeached, and the Senate has already rejected, Donald Trump is going to feel like he has completely no checks and balances on him, right? Because that you have basically unloaded the only, metaphorically speaking, of course, bullet in the chamber. With that said, the rhetoric and the approach that Pelosi has taken, I am as baffled and frankly, in some ways, appalled, because it's one thing to say Donald Trump deserves to be impeached. We could impeach him, but the Republicans are basically protecting him. They are protecting a criminal presidency, and therefore it makes, we need to exercise some type of prosecutorial discretion. Now is not the time to do it because we can't get the job done, and we don't want to waste our ability to do so, after the fact. To reject impeachment in that way, it seems to me, is very rational. To poo-poo the idea of impeachment, and like you say, she should be asked if she would have voted for Nixon's impeachment, says that there is no accountability, that accountability in and of itself is not worth it. And like you said, I'm not convinced that we didn't get all sorts of malfeasance because we didn't impeach during Iran-Contra. I'm not convinced that we didn't, that the financial crisis wasn't a function of not holding elites to account. I mean, this is something, she says, Pelosi says this is divisive. Well, not doing it seems to be pretty divisive as well. And
how's that working out for us?
Exactly. And, people can say, well, in 2006 or 7, what if she had tried to impeach? Would we have Barack Obama? It's not nearly the same situation whatsoever. And again, this is about how you lose. You can not impeach. And like I say, I think it's probably the wisest move, just because I'm afraid if Donald Trump gets reelected, that the Democrats and the country will have no recourse. But how you lose, again, and this is, I feel like, a conversation you and I have had for years. How you lose is so important because you are framing the fight in a certain way. And we have such an accountability problem in this country that it's stunning. And when we take a break, when we come back, let's talk about another accountability problem that we have that is indicative of this era that we're living in, it seems to me. And that is this massive college admissions cheating scandal that broke this week and was revealed by the FBI. We got to take a quick break. I'm Sam Seder. I'm talking to the great Digby. We'll be right back after this.